Hi, welcome to today's episode of Fayetteville Public Library's After School Workshop. My name is Miss Allison, and I'm betting you probably haven't even been in school today. Maybe you did some virtual learning, or perhaps your school district gave you a good old-fashioned snow day, which I hope is the case. Maybe not necessarily an after-school workshop, maybe an after sledding workshop or after snowman building workshop. Let's call it that. I'm going to show you a really fun and easy painting technique called scrape painting. And it's just a really fun way to experiment with colors and textures and just different directions of the paint just to see what the results will be. Now, I would recommend, I've done some experimenting, I would recommend using cardstock, which is a really thick paper, unless you don't mind, it'll curl up a little bit if you use printer paper. But if you tape it down and then let it dry, it hopefully will dry flat. But if you want to make sure that whatever your surface is that you've got your paper on, if you don't want the texture of that surface to come through the paper, that's another reason why the cardstock is really great to use. Because I taped my pieces of printer paper to a piece of cardboard from a shipping box, and it picked up the ripples, which, if that's the look you're going for, that's great. But if you want a smooth result, you might think about using cardstock or just making sure that the surface you use is smooth and doesn't have the ripples like the cardboard does. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I just did, some experimenting, playing with colors and, taking the scraping different directions. This is one little bit that I did. Doesn't it look like, flames in maybe a fireplace? Pretty, isn't it? I used red and orange and yellow. Hold it up a little closer. And then a little bit more with the orange and red and yellow. Those look like fireballs or comets in the sky, don't they? Isn't that neat? And it's just scraping the paint across the paper. And here's using blue and green. Kind of has an undersea look to it with those vertical stripes. They look like seaweed. Isn't that great? And it's all just, putting dots of paint on paper and scraping it across or up and down. Two more examples. This is again where I was just experimenting. It's not supposed to look like anything in particular, but look at those pretty colors. Looks like watercolor, doesn't it? Purple and green and blue. And then on the back side, I did actually try to create kind of a scene with mountains, the meadow in front, and then you can see how the textured cardboard came through on in the brown area where the mountains are. But kind of works. And then got the blue sky above. Aren't those fun? And again, I found it very soothing. I just enjoyed seeing what the colors would do when I mixed them together, and if I, did swirly circles or just straight across or wavy lines. This is a really good one to just have fun with, and it's full of surprises. You can't actually really predict what your end result will be. So anyway, what you're going to need is just some paint. I don't know that it really matters because I tried using both these washable paints, and then I used these little tubes of acrylic paints. Both of them worked great. You'll need a flat surface, whether you want to use a big piece of cardboard so that you can, kind of get messy around the edges and not get it on the tabletop. I've taped mine down. And you'll need some sort of cardboard. I've used playing cards for their edges, and I just cut these little bits of cardboard off of something, like an insert that came in an Amazon box. But you can use different sizes. You can use kind of a wider edge, and then you can use a narrow edge, and it just gives you some variety to work with. So let me show you. This is all you have to do. Now I'm going to use the little tubes of acrylic paint. Since I'm holding this up, it'll keep them from dripping because the washable paint tends to drip. So I'm just going to put dots. I think I'll use some green. I think I'll make a sunset scene. And you'll want to put your paint on the edge of your paper. Or you can, like I said, you can experiment. You could put them in the center and see what happens. And I'm going to do the green separately from the other colors. All right, you ready? Here we go. Magic. Isn't that fun? And you can just keep going over it and making more of a pattern if you like. Kind of looks like that meadow I showed you in the other picture. There you go. All right. Now, and also you can just wipe the paint off of your little piece of cardboard. You don't necessarily have to have a bunch of these. Usually if you just wipe that paint off, you can use it for a different color. I will say that if you want to mix colors, the more you scrape it across, the muddier the colors will get. They'll blend in and kind of turn out a yucky color, an unappealing color. So again, that's just going to be something that you can discover through experimenting, but that is something that I found that the more I ran the scraper across the page, the more the colors blended in and didn't quite look as nice as I wanted them to. So, all right. So now we're going to do, I guess this could be the sunrise or sunset, either one. I'm just going to, and let's try putting the paint out here as well. Put a little yellow and a little orange. And again, you don't have to put them anywhere in particular unless you want to. I kind of like the randomness of it. What do you think this is going to look like? I think it's going to turn out pretty cool. But you can make underwater scenes. You can do a field of flowers. You could do green, and then you could go back and put little dots of color. See what happens when you pull the scraper across. It might look like clusters or bunches of flowers. All right, let me get my card. You ready to see what this does? Here we go. Look at that. Now look, now I've got a little bit of extra paint that has come off on the card, and you can go use it to go back and fill in if you like. But remember what I said, see how it's starting to kind of get a little mixed in there together, so I probably won't scrape back over that part. Yeah, wow, that's a bright sunset. I love it. Kind of nice on a cloudy day. Woo! Look at that. Isn't that fun? I just think this is the coolest technique. It just, you know, you're just not quite sure what you're going to end up with, and the surprise is very fun and very pretty. That's it. That's all that you have to do is just get you some paper. I'd recommend a little bit heavier stock than printer paper. Use the kind of paint that you want. Cut you little squares or several little squares of cardboard that you can use to scrape, and then you can use one for one set of colors, put it down, and use a fresh piece of cardboard for a second set of colors, and see what happens. You know, go left to right, go up and down, do swirls, do diagonal, and just see what happens. It's a great way to experiment with colors and textures, and it's just a nice way to have add a splash of color into your day. Okay, I hope you enjoy this, and as always, I want to invite you to post your results or a photograph of your results in the comment section underneath this video. I'd love to see your artwork, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day. Stay warm. Bye.